I have ran every single day for 150 days straight, and I thought I'd create this video to share with you 10 of the top things that I have learned or discovered since I started this challenge. Now, in an earlier video which you can find on my channel, I decided that I wanted to lose weight and improve my fitness at the beginning of the year. So I set myself a challenge, and that challenge was to run at least 1 mile a day every single day for the entire year. So we're 150 days in, and this is what I have learned so far. Number 1, building a habit isn't easy. Now, when I started this challenge, I assumed it'd be a case of putting my running shoes on, going out and quite happily running at least a mile, but probably much more every single day. But in truth, it's actually been a lot more difficult than I imagined. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but doing this every single day is actually really quite challenging, and it requires you to build a habit. Now, certainly for the first couple of months, I have to be honest, I really half the time couldn't be bothered going out. But no matter how late it was or how bad the weather was, I decided that it was worth going out and doing at least that 1 mile. Now, I did a little bit of research, and on average it can take up to around about 66 days for somebody to form a habit, which actually rings quite true with me, because it did take at least 2 months for me to start finding it much easier to go out for these daily runs. Now, what you have to remember is I started this challenge back in January, and the weather in January here in Scotland is particularly cold, wet and windy. So a lot of the times I was out running in those weather conditions and it was very dark. So it wasn't really like I actually wanted to go out and do it. There was no incentive with nice weather or nice scenery. It was just cold, wet, dark and just very unpleasant. However, I stuck with it, and I have to be honest, now that I've crossed the 150 days, I find it no problem at all going out for the run. So it doesn't matter what the weather's like, it doesn't matter how cold it is, it doesn't matter how dark it is, I just go out and do that daily run. So just expect, if you are going to do a similar sort of challenge to me, it is going to take a little bit of time for you to build that habit, especially if you are completely new to going out running every single day. Number 2, schedule your runs. Now, when I first started this challenge, I would roll out of bed and go straight for my run, or I would do the run really late at night, around about 10, 11 o'clock. But those 2 times were the worst times for me to go, because first thing in the morning, I'm usually really tired, I've not got much energy, and I find that unless I have eaten, I get dizzy, and all I would do is end up doing a minimum of the mile. Now, late at night, I was usually too tired, I just wanted to stay on the couch, and I was basically dragging myself off of the couch to go for that run. So again, I was only doing 1 mile. However, for me, the sweet spot seems to be between around about 4 and 6 p.m. So after work, but before dinner. I've got that little bit of time where I've already had lunch has been digested, I'm feeling good, I've got a little bit more energy. And if I go out at that time, what I've discovered is I can actually run for between probably 2 to 5 miles compared to doing the minimum of a mile if I go out in the morning or late at night. Number 3, set a minimum distance. Now, when I first mentioned to some of my friends that I was going to do this challenge, initially they asked me why I wasn't doing something a little bit more difficult. For example, running a 5k every single day of the entire year. But the problem with that is not sustainable long term. So yeah, for the first couple of weeks, I could probably have managed it. But if I'm looking to do this every single day of the year, then a 5k which takes between, say, 25 and 30 minutes is just not going to work for me. The reason I settled on at least 1 mile every single day is because that takes me between about 7 and 9 minutes, depending on how fast I go, to complete that mile. And therefore, if I am busy cooking dinner, or I'm not feeling too good, or I've left it too late in the day, all I need to do is find around about 10 minutes, chuck on my running shoes, and I can squeeze that mile and tick that day off. Also, if I was to do a 5k every day, I would probably become injured pretty quick. Number 4, don't worry about pace. When I first started this challenge, I hadn't been doing any running the year before. I think I'd only done about 3 or 4 runs, and I tried to set a target for myself. So I was looking to run under around about 9 minutes for the mile. Now, the first few weeks, because I wasn't used to running, I ran around about 9:30, I think, and what I discovered was I quite quickly wanted to try and beat that. So over 2nd week, 3rd week, 4th week, I continuously went out to do the mile and tried to run it faster and faster and faster. Now, whilst my times did start coming down and I was really happy, what I noticed was, because I was focusing so much on pace, I was actually only doing 1 mile, then becoming exhausted. So therefore, as the weeks went on, I decided to worry less about pace and focus more on a good quality run where I would actually put in more miles than I initially wanted to if I was feeling fresh. So by not focusing on my times per mile and just focusing on a good run and trying to do as many miles as I could, my 1 mile turned into 2 miles, 2.5 or 3 miles, and I quite quickly took my daily average from 1 mile to around about 1.6. So don't worry so much about pace, unless of course you can run lots and lots of miles and you want to go as fast as you can. But if you're just looking to do this and build a habit and run every single day, then there's no point in worrying about pace. Just focus on the distance that you are running and putting good runs into place. Number 5, randomize your routes. Now I have to be honest, we live in quite a small village, and by 150 runs, I am absolutely hating running around the exact same location. Quite quickly into this challenge, I realized that I had pretty much explored every single street that the village has to offer and became quite bored of these runs. So I have purposely tried to mix things up. I've gone different routes, I've ran reversals of routes. Sometimes I just go out the door and just make it up as I go. Sometimes I even get in the car and drive to other villages. So you will, if you're doing something similar to what I'm doing here, probably get quite bored of running around the same locations near your house. So try to mix it up by going to different villages, running different routes. And I feel personally it becomes a lot easier as you get into the lighter nights, like in the summertime, because therefore you can see more around you. I run in the fields, I run in different locations that I probably wouldn't normally go to in the winter time. Number 6, listen to your body. Now this one is really important because if you're wanting to run every single day of the entire year, then you're going to have to rely on your body actually being fit and healthy. I usually do a couple of quick stretches and a little bit of light jogging before I leave the house so that my muscles are at least warmed up. I'm only running a mile sometimes I'm doing 5k, but I don't necessarily know before I leave how far I want to run. So I always make sure that I do a quick warm up just to hopefully help prevent injury. Now there was one day where I woke up with a really sore back and I decided to go out and try and do my jog, which was a really big mistake. I managed about 30 meters and then I could barely even walk. So I went back home, took some pain relief and just relaxed for the rest of the day, tried to do some stretches and left it as late as I possibly could. So if you're feeling like your body is struggling a little bit, just do the minimum that you can and pick the right time of day when you're at least feeling your best to go out for that jog. Because if you push your body when it's struggling, you're probably going to do yourself some more damage and you might struggle to actually keep the challenge alive. Number 7, track your runs. Now I use the Runkeeper app on my phone. I don't pay for premium, I just use the standard free version, and I find it really interesting to keep track of my runs. It gives you all of the information like the GPS location, the distance, you can set challenges, audio announcements, and you can also track how fast you're running your miles. Now, as I said earlier, I don't worry too much about how fast I'm actually running them, but I like to have access to all of this data. So all of the runs I have undertaken so far are available in my app, so I can look back at them, I can look at the routes I did, I can look at when, for example, I was doing a lot more miles than other times, and I like the idea of being able to try and increase my distance each month. So if one month I've ran 45 miles, for example, then I'm looking the next month to try and do 46 or 47. So keeping an eye and tracking all of these runs using an app makes it much easier, and it means if I do this challenge again next year, I can look back and see if I have done more miles next year than I did manage this year. Number 8, buy Spotify Premium. I signed up quite early to Spotify, and what I noticed was because I wasn't paying for premium, I was listening to these same songs over and over again. So even if you choose an album or a playlist, on the free version, it will always start from the beginning of that playlist. You can't shuffle, you can only skip a limited number of times, and that can be quite off-putting if you're out running and a song comes on that you don't like, or if you're listening to quite fast-paced music which you're enjoying running to, and then suddenly an advert comes on or a slow song, it can break that rhythm. So I have invested in the premium version of Spotify, which means that basically I can listen to any song that I want to, I can skip songs, I don't have to worry about adverts, and I found that it's much easier to sustain a decent pace and enjoy the run if I'm listening to the music and the songs that I actually want to listen to. Number 9, your fitness will improve. Now, at the very beginning of this challenge, I must admit I didn't really notice any benefit to my cardiovascular fitness. So after the first 2 or 3 weeks, I was enjoying doing the runs, but I didn't really notice a big difference. However, when I got into the second month, that's where I noticed a big change. When I moved away from just trying to run as fast as I could for the mile and doing a little bit more each day, I noticed that when I was doing things like playing football or other activities, I wasn't feeling out of breath, I had a lot more energy, and even the runs themselves became easier. I didn't get a stitch, I didn't have to worry about focusing on my breathing, I could just go out and run. Now, after 150 runs, I have found myself to be in a position where I can just go out the house, go for a run. I could do 5k, I could probably do 7 or 8k if I wanted to, and I wouldn't actually feel tired or like I'm struggling to breathe like I did at the beginning. Now, for me personally, the most noticeable change has been with my fitness for football. So I play 5-a-side a couple of times a week, and I've gone from needing to probably go in goals after 10 or 15 minutes and get a little bit of a break to basically playing the full hour quite happily without needing any rest. On some occasions, I actually run my mile to the venue where I play football, play an hour of football, and then run back to my house or to the office. So definitely in terms of my cardiovascular fitness, going out every single day has helped that improve. Number 10, running is still boring. Now, you could be forgiven for thinking that after 150 straight runs, I would absolutely love running, but the bottom line is that I still don't. In fact, to be honest, I don't enjoy running whatsoever. Now, when I started this challenge, I assumed that from going out on a daily run, I would want to do park runs, I would want to do half marathons, maybe even do a marathon one day. But the truth is, after 150 runs, I'm still where I was at the beginning. I go running because it is good for you, it's a healthy activity, and I'm doing this challenge. But I don't go running because I enjoy running. No matter where I run to, no matter how far I go, no matter how good my pace is or my time is, or if I'm running with other people, I just simply do not enjoy it. So if you do decide to take part in a similar challenge and run every single day of the year, you might be lucky and you might fall in love with running, or like me, it might just be something you're doing to try and complete a pretty random challenge. So there you have it. That's what I've learned from running every single day for the last 150 days straight. If you've enjoyed this video, then please do hit that like button. And if you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or maybe even advice for improving my running, then drop them in the comments area below. Also, if you've taken part in a similar challenge or you're thinking about taking part in a challenge like this, then drop any of your questions or pieces of advice in there as well, because I would love to hear from anybody who has gone through this themselves or anyone who, after watching this video, is thinking about giving it a go. But anyway, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.